We are in the embryology laboratory at Ivy Med Clinic. Here, we work with oocytes, sperm, and embryos. Fertilization, cultivation, preparation of embryos for transfer, freezing, and thawing of vitrified eggs, sperm, and embryos take place here.
A new life is born in this laboratory. Here, embryologists work with eggs and sperm of the Vittoria Vita's potential parents. Oocytes are fertilized by ICSI.
With traditional IVF, the egg is located in a special dish surrounded by its helper cells. In the same dish, we add sperm, which was previously prepared and cleaned in a special way. After that, the embryologist does not affect the process. The doctor relies on sperm to naturally enter the helper cells and fertilize the egg. But with ICSI, the embryologist selects one mobile and healthy sperm cell and injects it into the egg with the help of a special glass needle. In such conditions, we do not give absolute guarantee of success, but still maximize the chances of successful fertilization.
An embryologist prepares a special fertilization dish. It contains droplets with the growth media for the eggs and individual drops for sperm. A special solution slows down sperm a little bit. In the normal state, they are so mobile that it is quite difficult to examine them under a microscope. What are the indications for ICSI?
The main indication for ICSI is male infertility. For example, when there is a low sperm count in an ejaculate, when they are not mobile, or when they are surgically obtained by puncture of the testicle. So it is a situation where we cannot rely on nature, when sperm cells cannot fertilize an egg independently. In addition, ICSI is performed when genetic diagnosis of the embryo is required. When using traditional IVF, genetic diagnosis of embryos is a risky thing. Some spermatozoa get stuck in the shell of the egg and can interfere with the diagnosis. Another indication is when we have too few eggs and we want to maximize their chances of fertilization. The presence of anti-sperm antibodies is also an indication for ICSI. Sometimes, instead of being headed to the egg cell, sperm cells stick together. This process is called agglutination. They simply stick to the egg and do not reach the goal of their journey. In general, any negative reaction of a woman's or a man's body to spermatozoa is an indication for ICSI, because standard IVF is not effective.
Embryos that you transfer to surrogate mothers are always created using ICSI. Why is that?
When we carry out traditional IVF, we rely on luck, as in everyday life. With the standard approach, not all eggs are fertilized, and we cannot influence this process. When we perform ICSI, we know for sure that the sperm cell is of high quality, that it got into the egg cell, and that we overcame all of the pitfalls that go with the standard IVF. In surrogate motherhood, when the number of eggs is limited, one cannot rely on luck.
How do you choose eggs?
We retrieve eggs during the puncture. At this stage, they are surrounded by a thin layer of their helper cells. This is a cumulus oocyte complex. At this stage, it is too early to conduct ICSI. Auxiliary cells should be removed. The procedure is called denudation. With the help of a special enzyme, we destroy the bonds between the auxiliary cells, and the egg cells remain alone. Now, the embryologist clearly sees if the egg is mature and of its quality.
What surrounds this egg?
This is what an ordinary female egg looks like. It is surrounded by a special membrane, which is called a zona pellucida. The marker that the egg is mature is the first polar body. This is unnecessary genetic material that was thrown out. Genetic information from the spermatozoan will take its place.
The next step is to select the right sperm.
There are several criteria by which we select spermatozoa for fertilization. First, it must be a live sperm cell. The ones that simply lie without movement are not suitable for the procedure. Secondly, we need a morphologically correct sperm cell. Spermatozoa have their own criteria for beauty. We pay attention to the structure of the sperm. They should have a smooth, oval head, a distinct neck, and a thinner tail section without any twists and kinks. Yes, looks aren't all that important, but the problem is that the appearance of the sperm cell and its ability to fertilize are related. Therefore, we pay attention to its mobility and structure.
How many high-quality sperm cells are usually found in the ejaculate?
This indicator is individual. It happens that there is a very heavy male factor when there are a few sperm cells in the ejaculate, and not all of them are alive. The number of spermatozoa in a healthy man is measured in the millions. There is definitely something to choose from. It is believed that in good sperm, more than 4% of perfectly built sperm. But usually, the embryologist can find at least 10 spermatozoa for fertilization, even in difficult cases when the material is obtained surgically. That is, as a result of testicular puncture.
I see that the thermometer shows 37.2 and the table itself is warm. Why so, and what does that even mean?
This is the standard workplace of the embryologist, the laminar cabinet. It provides sterile working conditions. It takes air from the laboratory, drives through the filter system, and only clean air without dust and bacteria gets on the surface. The surface itself is heated in order to provide maximum comfort for eggs and embryos. They should be at a temperature close to the body temperature.
What happens next?
With the help of a special fine needle, we break the tail of the spermatozoan. It is enough to put the needle sharply on the tail, and that's it. This is not harmful because all the DNA is in the head. We do this to immobilize the spermatozoan, that is, to stop its movement. First, we do not need the sperm to move inside the egg. Secondly, the partial destruction of the sperm membrane allows the release of genetic material that is in the head. This helps the further fertilization process.
Next, using a micropipette, the embryologist sucks in the egg cell. The doctor works at the anti-vibration table. The needle that inserts the sperm is very thin, but even due to vibration, it can damage the egg. The anti-vibration table takes down unnecessary vibration so that all movements are as clear and clean as possible.
The trick is that the sperm must be collected in a needle tailed back. That is, the head must first enter the egg. Now, let's move on to the drop where the egg cell lies.
This is what ICSI looks like. A thin needle breaks through the egg membrane, and the sperm gets inside.
That's all. After 16 to 18 hours, fertilization is checked. The appearance of 2 pronuclei is the first sign of successful fertilization. The effectiveness of conventional IVF and ICSI is comparable, but with ICSI, the outcome in which fertilization did not occur at all was virtually excluded. And with standard IVF, it happens that after fertilization, the material is checked and there is not a single fertilized egg. Efficiency at ICSI is high. If out of 10 we have 9 fertilized eggs, then this is a good sign. ICSI exists far from 1 year. The procedure itself is over 20 years old, and with its help, many children were born. The existence of any negative effects of these manipulations has not been proven. In fact, it's also a natural fertilization. It is simply transferred from the human body to the laboratory. ICSI was conducted for the first time in 1992. This was preceded by many preparatory stages. When doctors tried to help the sperm with fertilization, they placed the sperm with a thin needle under the membrane of the egg, but not in the egg itself. They made a hole to make it easier for sperm to penetrate the inside of the egg. In general, the natural barriers were gradually eliminated. The doctor who invented ICSI was not an embryologist by education. Mr. Palermo had no prejudice about fertilization. If they put sperm under the membrane, why not place them directly in the cytoplasm? He conducted this procedure and it was very effective. Since then, ICSI has helped a huge number of couples to become parents of a genetically native child.